you join Toastmasters, there's a sea of faces you don't know.
I was so impressed about how much detail and education they do on the icebreaker talk about how to organize speech, how to make your point.
This is brilliant. We should have been doing this for years.
With that, we've got our next session, led by Lindy. Our path to Toastmasters treasure continued. The key to new member engagement. In our next mini education session, our speaker will explore with you a powerful key for not only new, but any member engagement: mentoring. Celebrating her 3-year Toastmaster anniversary this month, Lindy McLean has been a mentor to 8 fellow Toastmasters so far. Some new, some experienced. In her worldview, true Toastmasters treasure is mined through the mentoring relationship. Please welcome Lindy.
According to mentoring.com, which focuses on youth getting mentors, at-risk youth who are at risk of falling off track but were paired with a mentor were 55% more likely to attend college, 78% more likely to volunteer regularly, 90% of them wanted to become mentors themselves, and they were 130% more likely to become leaders. Now, do we or do we not want our members to be committed to education, become mentors, one of those, and become leaders? Obviously, we do. So I just want to point out what a powerful key this is to member engagement of all kinds, because you can accomplish an amazing amount with mentorship. Can you hear me with this mic? All right. My goal of this talk is for you to walk away enthusiastic about both having a mentor and being one. So first, I'm going to ask, is anyone here, there's some of you who have not yet completed a level 1 of Pathways. Could you just put your hand up? Not about shaming, just knowing. Thank you. Great. Okay. So first thing I want to do is bulldoze away any resistance that those of us who were trained in the legacy education have about mentoring people in Pathways. 2 things. First, yes, they're going to need to know some about Pathways mechanics, but you can have one person in your club who's an expert on that to send them to. What they mostly need to know is Toastmasters mechanics, and you're an expert at that. Meeting etiquette, how to fill a role, how to sign up for a role, how to handle your nerves. These are all things that you are an expert at, and these are the same things that people need to know in Pathways. Second, I want you to know about how this Pathways Level 1 is built, because they're the same. Every Pathways Level 1 is the same. And on the back of your agenda, there's a little picture, but I've also asked Kyle and Jean to come up here to help me visually explain to you what that looks like. So Jean and Kyle, could you come up? Kyle, stand there. Jean, stand over there.
I'm Project 2.
Yes. Jean is project number 1. Everyone has a project 1. Jean, would you tell us what project number 1 is and how it does or does not compare to the CC manual?
Well, Project 1 is your icebreaker talk, and when Pathways came about, I was so impressed about how much detail and education they do on the icebreaker talk about how to organize speech, how to make your point, which wasn't the case in the old program. The old program was just get up there and try to not be too nervous while you're speaking.
Thank you. Yes, so essentially it's like the first 3 projects of the CC manual rolled into one. Then Project 2 is something stellar, which I love, and Kyle's going to tell us about that.
Well, I love it. Project 2 has 3 components, and I love this. You stand up and you give a speech. It doesn't give you any instruction as to what you're going to speak on, but you already learned some of the stuff from the icebreaker about how to organize a speech and speak with passion and talk about yourself. So give a speech. That's the first thing. Give a speech, get feedback. Now, incorporate that feedback into the speech, come back and give it again. That's the second part of the project. Get more feedback. Now, right there, if they'd stopped right there, I'd say this is great, because how many of us in the legacy system wrote a speech, gave it once, took the feedback, never gave the speech again, never had an opportunity to really incorporate that feedback into the speech? You know, I've done hundreds and hundreds of one-time speeches, but taking a speech and actually improving it and giving it again based on feedback, that's great. So anyway, the second speech is the second part of that project. Now, here's the third part of the project. You've received feedback, you've heard it, you've incorporated it. Now you have to give feedback. You give an evaluation. And the magic part is your evaluation gets evaluated. So you're evaluating somebody for the first time, and one of the experienced club people evaluates your evaluation to give you feedback on your evaluation. This is brilliant. We should have been doing this for years.
Thank you, Kyle and Jean. Project number 3 is research and presentation, and this is not about writing a dissertation. It isn't even about being a good researcher. It's about 2 things. Understanding that you need to have different sources for your research, so you're not just using the internet. And the other thing is to learn to verbally cite your sources during your speech. And that is the part that I see people miss. I've seen talks that have lots of wonderful information. So as you're mentoring that project, encourage people to practice citing the source of their information. So that's very simple, easy peasy. Now that you know what that looks like, you are ready to mentor someone through it. Okay. We're not going to talk a lot about the nuts and bolts of mentoring. Again, on the back of that agenda, there's a bit.ly link to a mentor-mentee packet that has lots of wonderful information that you can spend time with later if you want more about that relationship and how to fulfill those roles. Let's briefly talk about the distinction between coaching and mentoring. In Toastmasters, in the pathway level 2, there's an introduction to mentoring that everyone does. That's a project everyone does. And it lays coaching and mentoring side by side and differentiates them. And I've never seen anywhere else these defined this way, but in Toastmasters, coaching is defined as a more focused teaching sort of thing. So a short-term goal, I'm going to train you how to do this. You need to know how to be a grammarian. I can tell you to do that. That's coaching. Mentoring is a longer term, much broader range of things. While coaching, you're pretty much the leader, taking them through things. Mentoring, they're the leader, you're there supporting their progress. So with that in mind, let's hear from a few of you. What quality or action have you appreciated in a Toastmasters mentor you've had? Just a few of you. Honesty. Listening, enthusiasm, experience, accountability, motivation. Oh, that was me. Helping her to edit her talks. That's what she said. I have 3 golden rules when I mentor someone. Reach out regularly. Do not wait for them to come to you. Ask, how can I help? And spend a lot more time listening than talking. Those rules have served me really well. Now, I get to move to the part of this that I'm really excited about, which I call my ABCs of mentoring. And I came to these ABCs when I reflected back on the first mentor that I had and what it was that I gained from that relationship. Because what I gained, of course I gained a little bit of knowledge, but it was so much about other things besides Toastmasters knowledge. These are the ABCs of those things. These are, using these ABCs, those of you, even you who've been in here for 2 weeks, can mentor someone, because these are more about how to help another human grow than about learning in Toastmasters. A is for accountability. Someone already said that one. So if I'm helping you be accountable, what am I doing? Let's see. I'm going to ask you to answer it because you said accountability earlier. What am I doing for you? Did you say accountability? You said accountability. I'm sorry.
And the question was again?
If I'm helping you be accountable, what am I doing?
Working with me to establish what my goals are. What is it that I want to do, so both of us aren't just blindly stumbling around over some vague ideas, and then checking with me on a regular basis as to how I'm doing on meeting these goals, and evaluating if the goals are realistic, if they've been met, if they're actually a stretch or they're too easy, and just being the gentle coach and also the drill sergeant as needed.
So helping you follow through on your goals. Okay, so in the accountability factor, now this is where some coaching comes in. Someone tells you, hey, I want to do my icebreaker next month. Then they're going to have some questions about how to do it. So we're going to have a quick exercise, 2 minutes. You're going to find someone you do not know. One of you is going to be the protege. The other is going to be the mentor. The protege is going to say, what do I talk about in my icebreaker? The other person is going to answer. You have 2 minutes. Ready? Go. Up and get ready to come back. Come on back now, everybody. Great. Did anybody learn anything? Good. I don't have time to ask you what that was, unfortunately. I would like to, but we have to go on. B is for believing eyes. Now, what that means is that your mentor can believe in you before you can believe in yourself. So as a mentor, be generous with your comments about what you believe that they can do, because that kind of confidence, someone holding that kind of confidence for you until you can claim it for yourself, is an incredibly powerful gift. C is my favorite. Connection. When you join Toastmasters, there's a sea of faces you don't know. And in a club, you start to get to know him. Tom starts to talk about himself a little bit. You know, he's the guy who starts the meeting, whatever. You get little windows on people, but it's easy to stay hidden for a long time. You know, as a new member, the amount of time it takes to develop trust and connection within the club experience can be long, depending on the person's personality. Whereas, if you sit down with a mentor in the space of a frank and open and welcoming conversation, by the end of it, you can feel seen, you can feel heard, you can feel cared about. And who doesn't want to keep coming back to a place where you feel seen, heard, and cared about? It's a huge key for member engagement. We're going to do another exercise. We're going to pair up and you're going to share your why. Let me talk for a second about why. When we join something, we have a reason. And usually under that reason is something that's really driving it. And when someone's talking to you, their why should light them up. That's how you know that that's their real why. Those of you who've been in Toastmasters for a while, this is not why you joined. This is why you are still here, why you still go to meetings every time. Your why, any journey goes up and down, and when you're in the downs, you need something to help you keep going, and knowing your why can really help. And as a mentor, knowing what your mentee's why is can be huge. So you're going to pair up. Again, find someone you don't know. You have 2 minutes each. The listener, please practice active listening. Don't jump in, tell your own story, give advice. Reflect what you've heard them say. So as I heard you say, you said blah, blah, blah. The other thing you can do is ask clarifying questions until you see their eyes light up, that you haven't quite gotten to their real why. So, ready? Find someone you don't know. Go for it. Okay, come on back now, everybody. Come on back. Come on back. Now, which of you had a partner whose eyes lit up? Which of you had a partner who you saw their eyes lit up? Come on, I wanted 3 people to come up and tell me their fiery why. If you, yeah, So really why? If you had a partner, then send your partner up. Send your partner up. Dave, come on.
So am I talking about my why? My why. Well, my why first started out because I flubbed a business presentation in front of my boss and a key client, and it was really bad. But as with everything, a few years in, you kind of figure it out. And I'll be honest, I slowed down a little bit, and my why became helping other people. I joined the leadership of the club. I help other people. I like getting the emails. I like being the guy you contact when you need help with X, Y, and Z. That's a lot of fun for me. So that's my why.
Yeah, you saw how excited he got. Okay, my time is... Oh, yes, come on up.
3.
Let's hear one more. Yeah.
All right. I'm Michael Davis. When I was younger, I had this idea and desire to become a pastor, and yet if you met me 15 years ago, I could not talk to people. I couldn't really hold a conversation. I was very introverted. You might not believe me, but it's true. And as soon as I got over that fear of actually talking to people, I knew the next step was to acquire the skill of actually gaining interest and passing on what I have inside of me to someone else. And so my desire to teach and connect with people is what drives me.
Beautiful. Thank you. I hope that this session has struck a match for you. If you do not have a mentor, and you are not yet a mentor, go back to your club VPE and ask them to help you get started. Because even as a new person, you can mentor someone who's been around and offer them huge value. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.